Welcome to the Betrayed Michael channel. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We talk about truth, betrayal, and bouncing back stronger. I can still hear Travis's laugh echoing down the hallway, that laid-back, familiar chuckle that used to make me feel like all was well in the world. That morning, I even smiled hearing it. I had gotten off work early, a surprise half-day courtesy of my boss. I figured it was the perfect chance to do something nice, swing by Amber's favorite Italian deli, surprise her with lunch, maybe try to bring back some of the closeness that had been slipping through our fingers these past few months. Turns out, I was the one who ended up surprised, and not in a good way. The first sign was the sudden silence that swallowed up the hallway right after that laugh. It felt like stepping into sunlight only to have a door slam shut in your face. I stopped in the foyer, one hand still on the doorknob, the other gripping the paper bag of sandwiches and cannoli. The house was too quiet. No TV. No footsteps. No, "Hey babe, you're home early." That gnawing feeling hit me in the gut like a twisted knot. And as much as I'd like to say I didn't see it coming, I can't lie to myself, deep down, I'd known something was off for weeks. Amber had been acting different. Pulling away when I tried to kiss her. Those weird late-night texts she said were from her yoga group. Her phone suddenly locked when it never used to be. I told myself it was just stress, marriage has rough patches, right? I set the deli bag on the console table and started walking through the house slowly, careful not to make a sound. The living room? Empty. The kitchen? Nothing. But then I saw it, the bedroom door. Closed. Not locked. Just shut. And from behind it, the softest sound, a moan, faint but unmistakable. My heart sank like a rock. I opened the door. God, I wish I hadn't. There she was, Amber, my wife of 7 years, straddling my best friend, Travis. Her head was thrown back, eyes shut, lips parted in a moan I hadn't heard from her in over a year. Her nails dug into his chest. Their bodies moved together in sync, a rhythm so familiar and intimate that it felt like a sledgehammer to my chest. I didn't say a word. They hadn't noticed me yet. Not until Travis shifted and caught my reflection in the mirror. Then everything stopped. Amber screamed. Sharp. Panicked. She scrambled off him, fumbling for the sheets, shouting my name like that would somehow erase what I'd just seen. Travis froze, pale and wide-eyed, like a deer that had already been hit by the truck. Jack. Jesus, man, I didn't mean for this to happen. I didn't respond. I just stood there, locked onto Amber, the woman I'd built a life with. Her face was burning red, filled with shame. But was that guilt for what she'd done? Or just because she got caught? I can explain, she stammered, her voice cracking. This wasn't supposed to happen. What part? I said, voice low, too low. The part where you screw my best friend, or the part where you decided to do it in our damn bed? She winced, clutching the sheet tighter. It just happened, she said. That cliché. That damn cliché. I let out a laugh, bitter and hollow, a sound that didn't even feel like it belonged to me. You told me you were going to your sister's this morning, I said, staring straight at her. You kissed me goodbye. Told me you loved me. I do love you, she whispered, eyes swimming with tears. I turned to Travis. And you? What the hell's your excuse? He dragged a hand through his hair, eyes darting everywhere but mine. I didn't plan this, Jack. I swear. We had a few drinks, and it just happened. And then we didn't know how to stop. I cut him off. But you did it anyway. He had no answer. Just silence. Amber was sobbing now, still clutching that sheet, still trying to cover herself like modesty mattered at this point. I walked out. Not because I couldn't handle it, but because there was nothing left to say. No words were going to unsee what I saw. Nothing could make it hurt less. The second I shut the door behind me, the weight of it all slammed into me like a freight train. My knees buckled. I sat on the stairs, head in my hands, trying to process how my world just exploded. You spend 15 years trusting someone, calling him your best friend, 7 of those years married to the woman you thought was your forever, and then, just like that, it's all gone. Shattered. Burned to ash. I remember sitting there in the wreckage of it all, numb but not broken. Somewhere in the middle of that storm of disbelief, heartbreak, and gut-wrenching betrayal, a quiet, ice-cold voice whispered in the back of my mind, "They made their choice, Jack. Now you make yours." I didn't fully know what that meant yet, but I knew damn well what it didn't mean. It wasn't going to be forgiveness. Not for this. Not for them. I got to my feet, legs shaky, chest tight with a cocktail of pain and something darker creeping in behind it. A storm was brewing inside me, and in the center of it, one truth stood steady: I was going to make them feel it. Every damn bit. Most folks think the hardest part of catching your wife in bed with your best friend is walking in on them, the actual moment your world goes sideways. But let me tell you, the real pain hits after. It's in the silence that follows. The way she stops sleeping next to you. The space in bed where she used to lay, where her scent used to linger, like vanilla and comfort, now just cold, empty sheets and air that bites. I didn't move out. Not yet. Amber started sleeping in the guest room, and Travis? I hadn't seen or heard from him since. Which was fine by me. My mind was wrecked. Couldn't focus at work. Couldn't eat. The nights were the worst. Every time I closed my eyes, there they were. Together. Moving like they'd rehearsed it. And I couldn't stop seeing it. I had trusted Amber with my heart. I had trusted Travis with my life. My victories, my setbacks, my secrets. And they took that trust, tossed it in the dirt, and rolled around on top of it like it meant nothing. That kind of betrayal? It's slow and sharp all at once, like getting stabbed with a blade made of ice. Still, buried under all that cold, a spark flickered. I wasn't someone who thought about revenge, not naturally. But grief has layers, and anger is one of them. And the deeper I dug into what they did to me, the more a plan started to form. I didn't want to scream. I didn't want a dramatic scene. I wanted something clean. Calculated. I wanted to hit Travis where it'd actually hurt. And that's when she popped into my head, Jenna. Travis's younger sister. God, Jenna. She was the kind of woman who didn't just walk into a room, she warmed it up just by being there. Tall, wild auburn hair usually pulled back in a loose braid or messy bun like she had better things to do than worry about her hair. Full lips, eyes the color of wet cedar, and a laugh that felt like July sunlight. I'd always liked her. From a respectful distance. Because she was Travis's sister. But now? Now the rules were different. I sent her a message that afternoon, nothing heavy. Just simple. Hey Jenna, long time. You up for coffee soon? Been meaning to catch up. Let me know. She replied 10 minutes later. Jack. Wow, hey. Yeah, I'd love that. It's been way too long. You free this weekend? And just like that, it began. We met that Saturday at a small indie coffee spot downtown, one of those cozy places with more plants than chairs. She was already there when I walked in, sitting near a sunlit window, nursing a black latte and half lost in a book. When she looked up and saw me, she grinned. Hey, stranger, she said, standing to hug me. And when our bodies touched, something passed between us, not just the usual friendly warmth. There was heat. History. Something unspoken that had been sitting quietly in the background for years, waiting. I let the hug linger just a little longer than I should have. You look good, Jack, she said, giving me a soft smile. Different though. Tired. Everything all right? I gave a little shrug. Long week. You know, life. She nodded, her expression full of real concern. You want to talk about it? Not just yet, I told her. So we didn't. We talked for over an hour instead, books, movies, my job that I was barely tolerating, her job that she clearly loved. She told me she'd finally launched her photography business, weddings, travel shoots, portraits, even boudoir stuff. And hearing her talk about it, hearing that spark in her voice, it lit something in me I hadn't felt in weeks. Not lust, not exactly. It was curiosity. Fascination. Pull. I didn't mention Amber. Didn't bring up Travis. Not during that first coffee. Not because I was hiding anything. I just didn't know what the hell I was doing yet. But when Jenna started glowing as she talked about her trip to Iceland, or when she blushed at one of my dumb stories, something inside me clicked. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. That crater Travis left in me? Jenna was the first person who made me feel like I could climb out of it. Still, the thought of him finding out, that was just the cherry on top. As we walked toward the parking lot, she glanced at me and said, "We should do this again sometime. Dinner, maybe?" "I'd like that," I said, watching the way the sunlight hit her cheekbones. She smiled, brushing my arm gently before we parted. "I'll text you." And as I watched her walk away, those jeans hugging her hips, that natural sway in her step, a thought crossed my mind. What if this wasn't a setup anymore? What if this was the start of something real? I slid into my truck, heart pounding. Not from pain, for the first time in a long while, but from anticipation. Jenna had always been off limits. Untouchable. But now? Now she was drifting into orbit, and I wasn't sure if I wanted her because of what Travis had done, or in spite of it. Either way, the game had changed. And I was just getting warmed up. Her hair fell in soft curls over her shoulders, catching the candlelight like it was made to live there. She was sipping something amber-colored, swirling it absent-mindedly as her eyes scanned the room. Then her lips curved into a slow, lazy smile when she saw me. Damn. She looked incredible. "Hey, stranger," Jenna said, sliding over in the booth to give me a spot. "Hey yourself," I replied, taking the seat beside her. I ordered a bourbon, neat, and tried real hard not to let my eyes drift, from the slope of her neck down to where that emerald green blouse dipped just enough to catch attention. She wasn't trying to be sexy. Jenna never had to try. She just was. And now that those invisible boundaries were gone, I found myself noticing all the things I used to force myself to ignore. "How's life?" she asked, raising an eyebrow like she already knew the answer was gonna be complicated. I let out a quiet breath. "Messy." She clinked her glass toward mine. "Aren't we all?" We fell into conversation, easier this time around. Something had shifted, the words flowed smoother, the laughter came easier, and there was this comfortable rhythm that felt like it had been waiting there all along. She told me about a nightmare client from one of her wedding shoots, how the bride cried because her bouquet had the wrong shade of peach in it, and I actually laughed. Like really laughed. Probably for the first time in weeks. Jenna leaned in when she spoke, touching my arm now and then when she made a point. And every time her fingers brushed my skin, it felt like a damn match sparking across my nerves. Then came a pause. A quiet little lull. She looked at me, really looked. "So, Jack, why now?" I blinked. "What do you mean?" She swirled her drink again, slower this time. "I mean, you've known me for what, a decade? We've always gotten along, but never more than that. So what changed? Why this sudden effort to reconnect?" My pulse ticked up. I could feel it in my neck. I hesitated. Do I lie? Do I tell her this all started as a way to get back at her brother? That the original plan was about payback, not connection? But the way she looked at me, there was no game in her eyes. No manipulation. Just quiet curiosity. She wasn't playing me. She just wanted to understand. So I told her a version of the truth. "I found out Amber cheated on me," I said, voice low and steady. Her face fell. "Jack, damn. I'm so sorry." "With Travis," I added. She sucked in a sharp breath. "Wait. My Travis?" I nodded once. Her mouth opened like she had something to say, but nothing came out. Instead, she just reached across the table and touched my hand. It wasn't flirty. It wasn't dramatic. Just real, steady, human, kind. "Jesus," she whispered. Her eyes blinked fast. I don't even know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," I told her. "I'm still trying to wrap my head around it myself." She went quiet, her thumb slowly tracing the rim of her glass, like her mind was trying to piece it all together. "When did you find out?" "A week ago." "And this?" she asked softly, lifting her gaze back to mine. "Us. Meeting up. Was it because of that?" I paused. "Maybe at first," I said finally. My voice was rough. But it doesn't feel like that anymore. She studied me for a long moment. Then let out a slow, shaky breath through her nose, a small wry smile pulling at the corner of her mouth. Well, that's honest, at least. I wasn't expecting to enjoy being around you this much, I admitted. You kinda snuck up on me. She took another sip and said, don't think I haven't noticed the way you've been looking at me tonight. That's not just enjoyment, Jack. Our eyes met, and this time, I didn't look away. You're right. The moment stretched between us, something thick and unspoken hanging in the air. She glanced down at my mouth, then back up again. Walk me to my car, she asked. Yeah, I said, my voice dropping lower than I meant. Outside, the city hummed quietly. Streetlights cast silver outlines along the sidewalk. We walked close, not touching, but the air between us buzzed like a live wire. When we reached her car, she turned to face me. The keys dangled from her fingers. I wasn't sure what tonight would be, she said. Neither was I. She stepped closer. Not invading, inviting. I don't do casual, she said. Not well, anyway. Me neither. Her hand came up and rested gently on my chest, right over my heart, which pounded hard beneath her touch. You don't have to prove anything, Jack. Not to me. Not to them. I'm not trying to. Her fingers curled into my shirt. Then kiss me like you mean it. So I did. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't angry or desperate. It was slow, deep, aching, full of heat, confusion, and all the tension we'd been pretending didn't exist for years. Her lips opened against mine. Her body melted into me. And in that moment, all of it, the pain, the betrayal, the plan, just disappeared. That night on that downtown street, I kissed Jenna, not to get even with Travis, but because I wanted her. Truly wanted her. Something shifted after that kiss, subtle but undeniable. The next morning, I woke up alone in my apartment, her memory still fresh on my lips like heat from a campfire that hadn't gone out yet. She hadn't come home with me. Not because I didn't want her to, believe me, I did, but because we both knew crossing that line fully, that'd be a point of no return. We weren't ready to jump off that edge just yet. The kiss had been a spark in a room full of gasoline. We were just waiting to see where it would ignite first. I didn't hear from Jenna for 2 days. And I didn't message her either. Part of me wanted to text, to call, to ask if she felt what I did, but another part, the one still crawling through the wreckage of my marriage and my broken friendship, held me back. What if she didn't feel it the same way? What if this was just me, clinging to the first bit of warmth I'd felt in weeks? On the third day, my phone lit up. Still thinking about Friday night. Can we talk? We met at a quiet park on the edge of the city, neutral ground. The kind of place where everything felt still. The air smelled like wet grass and spring coming alive. We sat on an old wooden bench beneath a massive elm, its leaves twitching in the sunlight like the day couldn't decide if it wanted to shine or not. She was already there when I arrived, both hands wrapped around a coffee cup. Her hair was pulled back into a simple ponytail, no makeup, no frills. Just Jenna. Real, beautiful, and, if I was reading her right, a little nervous. Thanks for coming, she said, giving me a small, uncertain smile. I wanted to, I told her. She nodded, then went quiet again. I sat beside her, not touching, not pushing, just letting the silence be what it was until she finally broke it. I haven't been able to stop thinking about that kiss. Same here, I said quietly. It felt, she trailed off, looking for the word. Right? I offered. She looked at me and gave a tiny nod. Yeah. But also, complicated. I chuckled under my breath. That's kind of the theme of my life right now. She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. There was something deeper there, a hesitation, a truth waiting to be told. I need to ask you something, she said, her tone serious now. And I need you to be honest. I stiffened a little, but nodded. Okay. When you messaged me last week, did you already know about Travis and Amber? There was no dancing around it anymore. I exhaled slowly. Yeah. I knew. She looked down at her coffee, her fingers tightening just slightly around the cup. So, reaching out to me, was that part of the plan? I paused. At first, maybe. I was hurt. Angry. I wanted to feel like I wasn't just sitting in the ruins of my life, watching them get away with everything. She nodded slowly, taking that in. Processing. But then, I said, leaning in just a bit, I sat across from you at that coffee shop, and you smiled. You made me laugh. And something in me shifted. Whatever plan I had, it stopped being about revenge. I just wanted to see you again. That's the honest truth. Her eyes locked onto mine, and there was something in them now, curiosity, maybe even hope. But there was still caution too. A guard not ready to be let down just yet. I can live with that, she said quietly. But you need to know something too. I waited, sensing that what came next mattered more than anything we'd said so far. I've had feelings for you for a long time, she said, barely above a whisper. I tried to push them away. You were married. And you were my brother's best friend. But at family parties, I always looked for you. You were the one I watched when no one was paying attention. I didn't know what to say. My chest tightened, but not from pain. It was something else. Something like wonder. Like regret. Like the universe was playing a long game and just now showing its hand. I never acted on it, she added. I would never have come between you and Amber. But now things are different. And I need to know, is this real? Or am I just a piece in your plan to hurt Travis? The question hung heavy between us, like a loaded gun on the table. I leaned closer, still not touching her, but close enough to feel her breath. Jenna, I don't want to hurt you. I did come to you from a place of pain. But I'm still here because being with you, it doesn't feel like strategy. It feels like something I didn't even know I was missing. She stared at me for a long moment, then set her coffee down on the bench beside her and turned toward me fully. I need a promise, she said. No more half-truths. No more holding back. If this, whatever this is going anywhere, I want all of you. Not just the broken pieces left over after Amber and Travis torched your life. I reached for her hand, and she didn't pull away. You'll have all of me, I said. Even the busted-up parts. She smiled. And for the first time since everything came crashing down, I felt the ground beneath me go still, if only for a moment. We sat there like that, hand in hand, the world hushed around us. I didn't know what was coming next. But I knew one thing, Jenna wasn't a weapon. She wasn't some twisted part of a revenge plot. She was something entirely different. Maybe even my second shot at something good. There's this moment after the explosion, when you think the smoke's finally cleared. Like you walked out of the fire, wounded, sure, but breathing. And then the wind shifts, and you realize you're still in the middle of it. You were just standing in the eye of the storm. That's what this part of my life felt like. Jenna and I weren't just seeing each other now. This wasn't casual. It wasn't a rebound wrapped in red wine and mixed signals. This was real. Something new rising out of the wreckage. We started seeing each other most evenings. Sometimes we'd just walk. Other times we curled up on her couch with a bottle of red and talked for hours, about all the things we never said back then. She asked questions. And she never tiptoed around the pain, but she didn't prod it either. Just let me share what I could, when I could. I told her everything. How I found out. What I saw. The look on Amber's face when I caught them. The way the life I built cracked open and exposed just how blind I'd been. I hated him, I said one night, as we laid tangled on her couch. My arm under her head. Her fingers lazily tracing circles on my chest. But what cut deeper, was how easily Amber just gave herself to him. Like we meant nothing. Jenna didn't respond right away. She just pressed a soft kiss to my shoulder and pulled herself closer. But not everyone was staying quiet. It started with a message. You and Jenna? Short. Bold. Arrogant. It was from Travis. And I didn't answer. I didn't reply to his message. Just let it sit there, glowing on my screen like it was daring me to pick a fight. That night, I heard 2 sharp knocks at my door, no doorbell, just silence after the sound. When I opened it, there he was. Travis. The man who used to be like a brother to me. My best friend since college. We'd moved furniture together, celebrated wins, stood side by side through weddings and funerals. He toasted me at mine. Knew everything about me. Now he was just the guy who'd slept with my wife. He looked like hell. Beard rough, face drawn, bags under his eyes. The confidence he usually wore like armor had been stripped away. He looked small. Uncertain. "We need to talk," he said. I stepped out onto the porch and pulled the door shut behind me. "Talk, then." He looked me up and down like he didn't recognize who I'd become. "You're seeing Jenna." "Yeah. That's low, man." I laughed, and the sound came out sharp and bitter. "You think I crossed a line?" I shook my head. "You screwed my wife in our bed. Don't you dare talk to me about lines." He winced but kept going. "It wasn't planned, Jack. Amber and it just happened." "Right. That line again." I scoffed. "You two love that excuse. She told me she was unhappy. Said you'd grown cold. That the marriage was falling apart." I clenched my jaw. "So you figured you'd warm her up, huh? She came to me. And you didn't say no." "Not once." He couldn't meet my eyes. "This thing with Jenna," he said, voice harder now, "it's not right. You know that." I stepped closer. "I didn't plan on falling for her. But I did. And after what you did, you don't get to tell me who I can or can't love." Something flickered in his eyes, not just jealousy. Fear. "She's my sister, Jack. This could destroy everything." "No," I said flatly. "You already did that." He had no reply. I turned and walked back inside. But I knew it wasn't over. Because now he knew. And things were about to get even messier. 2 days later, Jenna got the call. It was their mom. Travis had stopped by their parents' place for dinner and casually mentioned our relationship. According to Jenna, he made it sound like I'd manipulated her, like I'd used her as a pawn to hurt him. "He's trying to poison them against you," Jenna said, sitting across from me at the kitchen table. "He wants them to believe I'm some blind idiot falling into a revenge trap." "And what do they actually think?" I asked. She hesitated. "They're confused. Protective. My mom said she never imagined you and me this way." "My dad," he asked if I was sure I wasn't being used. I winced. "Jesus." Jenna reached across the table, took my hand. "I told them the truth. That I care about you. That I feel good with you. And that Travis doesn't get to decide who I give my heart to." She didn't say it dramatically, but the word stuck in my chest: heart. Care. Love, almost. I didn't say it back, not yet. But I felt it. Every time I looked at her. Every time I imagined a future that didn't feel like grief. That night, lying in her bed, her skin pressed against mine, she whispered in the dark, "If I have to choose between them and you, I'll choose you." I wrapped my arms around her, kissed her forehead. I didn't have the words yet, but I would. Because this wasn't just healing. It was home. Jenna didn't speak to Travis for a week after that dinner. She said she needed distance, space from the guilt-tripping, from his manipulation. I didn't say anything. I just held her hand, glad he was finally out of our orbit. Things between us kept deepening. It wasn't just sex, though there was plenty. Long, slow nights tangled up in each other. Breathless laughter breaking between kisses. But it was more than that. It was morning coffee runs. It was her cooking on Wednesdays. It was me catching her in the mirror wearing one of my old shirts and those soft black panties, and realizing I could still feel lucky after being shattered. But peace doesn't last. Everything cracked wide open on a Friday night. We'd just finished Thai takeout, curled up on her couch. She was tracing light lines on my arm with her fingers. Then she asked, "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" I looked down at her. "Tell you what? What really happened that night? With Amber and Travis. What you actually saw." I hesitated. That memory still hit like steel in the chest. "I didn't want you to picture it. But I already do," she said gently. "And I want to understand what you've been carrying." So I told her. All of it. The sound of Amber's moan through the door. Travis's body between her legs. The stunned look on both their faces when they realized I was standing there. Amber's weak apologies. Travis saying nothing at all. By the time I was done, Jenna was pale. Her body had gone still. "He did that to you?" she whispered. "My brother?" I nodded. She stood up, wrapped her arms around herself, pacing the room. "I thought I was angry before," she said. "But this? This is sick. It's not just cheating. It's cruelty." I watched her, unsure if I'd gone too far. Unsure if I'd pulled the curtain back too far on who her brother really was. Then she turned, fire in her eyes. "And after all that, he tried to make me feel guilty. Like I'm the one doing something wrong just because I love being with you." Her voice cracked. I crossed the room, took her gently by the arms. "Hey, none of this is on you. He made his choices. So did I," she said, leaning into me. And for a long, quiet moment, the world went still again. "We're just living in the aftermath now," Jenna said, shaking her head, her eyes shining with tears she was trying to hold back. "I need to talk to him." "Really talk? You sure?" I asked. She nodded. "He needs to hear it from me. And I need to say it." The confrontation happened 2 days later. She met Travis at their parents' house, said it felt like neutral ground. I didn't go. She'd asked for space, and I gave it to her. But I was restless the whole day, stomach tight, mind spinning with 100 worst-case scenarios. A part of me was afraid she'd walk in, see her brother looking broken, and forgive him. That she'd decide keeping the peace was more important than what we had. Maybe even walk away. But when she walked through my apartment door that night, I knew immediately, she hadn't chosen him. She shut the door behind her, her whole body tense. She dropped her keys on the counter and just stood there for a long moment before finally speaking. "I told him everything," she said, her voice tight. Then she looked up at me. "He tried to play the victim at first. Said you and Amber were already falling apart. That you didn't love her anymore, and it just happened." I clenched my jaw. "Of course he did." Jenna crossed the room, stopping right in front of me, eyes hard. "I told him that wasn't an excuse. That she was still your wife, and he was still your best friend. I told him I saw what it did to you, Jack. That I felt it." She reached for my hand and held it. "And I told him I love you." That stopped me in my tracks. I blinked, chest tightening. "You, what?" "I love you," she said again, this time softer. "And it's not revenge. It's not a rebound. It's real, Jack. It's scary as hell, but it's real." I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. "I love you too," I said. We stood there, holding onto each other like we were anchoring ourselves to something solid, something stable in a world that hadn't felt steady in months. But I could still feel the tension radiating from her. "What else happened?" I asked gently. She looked down. "I told him I was done. Done with him. With Amber. With pretending like this family isn't cracked and rotting underneath. I told him I can't keep people in my life who destroy others and call it love." That hit hard. Because Travis wasn't just her brother. He was part of her history. Her childhood. Someone she'd leaned on for most of her life. And now she'd chosen me instead. "You okay?" I asked. She nodded. "Not really. But I will be." We spent the rest of the night in bed. Not rushing. No urgency. Just slow touches, quiet whispers, skin against skin. It wasn't about sex. It was about healing. About being close, being honest. For the first time, nothing felt blurry between us. But the line between us and the rest of the world? That was about to get tested. It was a Sunday morning, one of those gray, indecisive days where the sky can't decide if it wants to rain or break open with sun. Jenna was still asleep beside me, one leg draped over mine, her hair a mess of auburn waves across the pillow. I laid there for a while, watching her breathe, feeling her body instinctively curl closer to mine in her sleep. It was peaceful. Real peace. The kind that makes you forget you were ever at war. Until Amber texted. "We need to talk. I'm outside." My heart stopped for a second. I carefully slid out of bed, trying not to wake Jenna, and walked into the kitchen with my phone in hand. I looked out the window, and there she was. Amber. Standing on the sidewalk, arms crossed, her hair pulled back in a tight bun. Wearing an old hoodie that used to be mine. She looked smaller than I remembered. Maybe she was, or maybe I'd just grown too much to see her the same way. I opened the door. She looked up. "Hey," she said quietly. "Amber," I replied, flat. "Can we talk?" I hesitated, then stepped aside. She walked in slowly, glancing around my place. Her eyes caught sight of Jenna's sneakers by the door. Her jaw tightened. "She's here? She lives here now." Amber turned to face me, arms folded. "That was fast." "Was it?" I said. "Or did you just not notice how slowly we've been falling apart for the last year?" She flinched. "I deserve that." "Yeah. You do." She let out a sigh and sat on the edge of the couch, like she wasn't sure it could hold her. "I'm not here to fight," she said. "I'm here because I made a mistake. A huge one. And I've been waking up every day trying to figure out how the hell I became someone who could do that." I didn't say anything. "I left Travis weeks ago," she added. "Didn't tell you because I didn't think it mattered. But maybe it does. Doesn't it? You think leaving him makes this better? I think it shows I wasn't choosing him over you. You were broken. We were broken," she rushed out. "And instead of trying to fix it, I made it worse. But I still love you, Jack. I do. And I still believe we could fix this. Start over." I stared at her, trying to see even a flicker of the woman I used to love. But all I saw was a memory, something bright that had faded long ago. "I'm in love with Jenna," I said simply. She blinked like I'd slapped her. "You're not serious." "I am. That's his sister, Jack." "And you slept with my best friend," I said. "Pretty sure we're past the point of etiquette." Amber stood. "You're doing this to punish me." "No," I said, voice low. "I'm doing this because she sees me. Because when I'm with her, I don't feel like I'm constantly climbing uphill trying to prove I'm enough. She never asked me to be perfect. She just wanted me." There was a long silence. Amber's face changed. Her mouth trembled, her eyes glassed over. For the first time, she didn't look defensive. She just looked sad. "I miss us," she whispered. "I miss who we used to be," Amber whispered. "But we're not those people anymore." Just then, I heard the soft creak of the bedroom door. Jenna stepped out, wearing one of my t-shirts, her expression unreadable. She froze when she saw Amber standing there in the middle of the living room. Amber turned slowly. For a moment, no one said a word. "Well," Amber said, letting out a breath. "That explains a lot." Jenna folded her arms, her jaw tight. "Didn't realize we were expecting company." "I'm not here to start a fight," Amber said, holding her chin a little higher. "I came to talk to my husband." "Ex-husband," Jenna corrected, firm but calm. "Not yet," Amber snapped back. The tension in the room was electric. These two women, so different, so opposite, locked in a silent standoff. Amber looked polished but hollow, like something inside her had dried up. Jenna stood raw, real, steady, a storm that knew how to stay standing. "You should go," Jenna said softly. Amber looked at me, her eyes searching for something, maybe hope, maybe regret. I didn't say a word. Just let the silence speak for me. Eventually, she got the message. She turned and walked toward the door, slow and stiff. But just before stepping out, she looked back one last time. "Just remember who was there when you built this life." And then she was gone. Jenna let out a shaky breath and leaned against the wall. I crossed the room and wrapped my arms around her. "She's still in love with you," she murmured. "It doesn't matter." "It kind of does." I pulled back just enough to look her in the eyes. "You heard the whole thing?" She nodded. "Every word. I was going to tell you." She just showed up. "You don't owe me an apology," Jenna said, lifting a hand. "Not for her showing up. But if I'm going to be in this with you, I need to know where your heart is. With you, I said instantly. It's been with you for a while now. She held my gaze for a long time, then gave a slow nod. But I could feel it, that hairline fracture. That doubt trying to sneak in through the cracks. Sometimes the past doesn't ask for permission to haunt the present. And sometimes love alone isn't enough to silence every echo. The fallout from Amber's visit didn't hit us right away. At first, things between Jenna and me went back to normal, or something close to it. We still had our quiet mornings, our takeout nights filled with whispered laughter, our slow-burning evenings wrapped in sheets and each other. But something had shifted. Something subtle. Jenna never said it outright, but I felt it. The tiniest pullback. When she kissed me, there was a pause, like her heart was holding its breath, waiting to see if mine would do the same. When I told her I loved her, she still said it back, but sometimes her eyes would flick away just a beat too early. The crack widened the day Travis showed up. It was a Thursday afternoon. I was leaving the gym when I saw him, leaning against my car like he owned the damn thing. Same smug expression, same lazy stance, like none of it mattered to him as much as it did to the rest of us. I kept walking. "Jack," he called. "Don't pretend you didn't see me." I sighed. "You've got about 10 seconds before I forget how to be civil." He smirked, but there was something off behind his eyes. "So, Amber told me about her little visit." I unlocked my door. "Good for her. She also mentioned you're playing house with Jenna now. Real cute." That was it. I turned, slow and cold. "She's not part of your mess anymore. You don't get to talk about her like she's a pawn in your games. She's my sister, Jack. Whether you like it or not, this affects more than just you. No. You and Amber made your choices. We're just living with the goddamn consequences." He shook his head. "You've always had this savior complex. Like you're the good guy in every story. You're not." I laughed, bitter, joyless. That's rich coming from the guy who slept with his best friend's wife and tried to spin it like he was doing her a favor. His face darkened. "She came to me. Don't forget that." "I don't," I said. "Every time I close my goddamn eyes, I remember." He went quiet for a beat, fists tight at his sides, jaw clenched. Then he said, "I came here to tell you something. Our parents are hosting dinner next week. Jenna's invited. They want to talk about you. About all of this." I blinked. "You're kidding." "I'm not. They think everything's spiraling. They're worried about her. About the family." "I'm not her family," I said, stepping closer now. "I'm the guy who picked up the pieces after her family blew it all apart." He didn't respond. And I didn't wait for him to. That night, Jenna was already home when I walked in. She sat at the table, half a glass of wine in front of her, laptop open but untouched. Her face told me everything. "You saw him," she said. I nodded. "He told you about the dinner?" "Yeah." She stood, arms crossing over her chest like she was bracing for a hit. "They want me to choose." Those words landed like a punch. "Choose?" I echoed. "They're not saying it outright. But I can feel it. My mom keeps bringing up Travis. My dad's talking about forgiveness. About keeping the family whole. And now that Amber's crawling back to you, they think it's some little love triangle we should all just move on from." I stepped closer. "Do you think that?" She looked up at me, raw, honest, exposed. "No. But I feel like I'm being dragged back into a family that refuses to see the truth. That won't admit what Travis and Amber did was wrong. They want to sweep it under the rug like it never happened." "Then don't go," I said. "Don't let them guilt you into silence." Jenna's hands balled into fists. "But what if walking away means losing them for good?" My chest tightened. Because I hated this, hated that loving me might cost her everything she grew up believing was unshakable. "It's not that we're not worth it," Jenna whispered. "It's just, it still hurts." She looked at me for a long time. I saw the weight of it all pressing behind her eyes: family, loyalty, love. The kind of pressure that makes your ribs feel too tight. "What about us?" I asked quietly. Are we worth that cost? She didn't answer right away. Just stared, long and searching. Then, softly, yes. But that doesn't mean it doesn't break something inside me. I crossed the room and pulled her into my arms. Whatever happens at that dinner, I'll be here, I told her. You won't go through it alone. She nodded into my chest, but I could feel the tension humming in her body. And that night, as we lay in bed together, I could already sense something coming. A shift. A breaking point. There would be a moment when Jenna had to choose who she was willing to lose, and who she couldn't imagine life without. The night of the dinner came like a slow-moving storm, too quiet at first, then growing thick with pressure. Jenna left early. Alone. She said it would be better that way. I didn't argue. I knew this wasn't a battle I could fight for her. This was hers, her past, her family, her brother. But the waiting was brutal. I paced my apartment with a glass of scotch I wasn't even tasting, checking my phone every 10 minutes. Nothing. Not even a "still alive." The silence told me everything I needed to know. She didn't text until almost midnight. Can I come over? I barely had time to reply always before I heard the knock. When I opened the door, there she stood, wearing a dark coat, eyes red, makeup smudged at the corners. She didn't look broken, but she looked like hell had asked for a truce. She walked past me without a word and collapsed onto the couch like her body had finally given out. I followed, quiet, careful, just letting her breathe. After a few minutes, she finally said, "I met with Amber today." That made me blink. "I thought you were going to the dinner." "I did," she said, staring at her hands. "But I saw her first." "Why?" "Because I needed to understand," she said. "I needed to hear from her what the hell she was thinking. Not for you. For me. For us." I sat beside her. "And?" She tried to play the victim at first. "Said you'd grown cold. That Travis understood her in ways you didn't. That it wasn't about love, it was about escape." I clenched my jaw. "Yeah. That sounds about right." But then, Jenna continued, I asked her what she thought would happen. After the affair. After the lies. Did she really think you'd just stay? I looked at her, waiting. She said yes, Jenna whispered. She really thought sleeping with Travis would shock you into loving her again. That hit harder than I expected, like someone poured cold water straight into my chest. "That's not love," I said. "That's manipulation." I told her that, Jenna replied. She reached for my hand, laced her fingers with mine. "And then what?" "I told her I love you," she said. That cracked something open in me. "This isn't revenge," she went on. "It started messy, yeah. But I chose this. I chose you." I didn't speak. Just brought her hand to my lips and kissed each knuckle slowly. "She told me I'd regret it," Jenna added. "Said no matter how much I gave you, you'd always have a piece of her. That she was there first." I looked at her and murmured, "She might have been first, but she was never right." Jenna's eyes welled with tears. "I know. But Jack, she's still in your life. Whether you like it or not. And I need to know something." I straightened a little. "Anything. Do you love me, because of what she did? Or in spite of it?" My heart slammed in my chest. I didn't rush my answer. "I love you," I said, "because you see me. Because you looked through all the wreckage and still found something worth holding on to. Because when I'm with you, I don't have to prove anything. I just get to be myself." She blinked, and a single tear slid down her cheek. "So, it's real. It's real." She leaned in and kissed me, slow, deep, and full of everything we hadn't said. Her coat slid off her shoulders, revealing a black slip dress underneath, and my body responded instinctively. But this wasn't about sex, not yet. This was about connection. "I'm done choosing between you and them," she whispered. "I already made my choice." "Yeah," I whispered back, brushing my fingers against her cheek. "And I want all of you. No matter what it costs." I kissed her again, harder this time. Her body melted into mine, the last of the tension dissolving between every breath and every touch. We didn't even make it to the bedroom. We didn't need to. We moved like two people finally free from everything heavy, finally able to feel without fear. Afterward, we laid tangled together in the glow of the living room lamp, her head on my chest, my fingers tracing the length of her spine. "Your parents," I said quietly. "What did they say?" "They weren't thrilled," Jenna said, lying beside me in the quiet, our fingers laced. "But I told them the truth. About what Travis did. About how he tried to twist everything." She exhaled. "I told them I wasn't going to let guilt or genetics decide who I'm allowed to love." "And Travis?" I asked gently. Her voice flattened. "I told him I didn't recognize him anymore. That the brother I knew, the one I loved, would have confessed. Apologized. Not tried to twist the knife in deeper." I swallowed hard. "Do you think he'll ever own up to it?" She shook her head. "No. But that's not mine to carry anymore." We lay in silence after that, the kind that feels earned. The kind that settles on your skin like rain after fire. "I'm proud of you," I said. She looked up at me, surprised. "For what?" "For choosing truth," I said. "Even when it hurt." She gave me a small, tired smile. It's easier to face the truth when someone's standing beside you. And right then, I knew with absolute certainty, whatever came next, we'd face it together. Some endings don't come with slammed doors or screaming matches. Sometimes they just slip away like a storm that passes while you sleep. You wake up the next morning, the ground's still damp, the air still heavy, but it's over. You survived. That's what the weeks after Jenna's talk with her family felt like. The wreckage of what Amber and Travis did still clung to the corners, but there was no going back. The people we used to be, the husband, the wife, the best friend, the loyal sister, they were gone. In their place, something new was forming. Something real. Something earned. Jenna and I moved in together not long after, not to prove a point, but because being apart started to feel unnatural. She kept her photography studio downtown. I stepped back from the soul-draining corporate grind and started consulting part-time, just enough to stay afloat, and more than enough to feel like myself again. We built a new rhythm, not for appearances, not for perfection. For us. Honest. Messy. Beautiful. One sunny Saturday, we wandered a small farmer's market just outside the city. Her hand in mine, a coffee in the other. I cracked some joke about overpriced artisanal pickles, and we were laughing as we turned a corner. And there she was. Amber. She froze. So did I. Jenna's grip tightened in mine, and instead of pulling away, she leaned in closer. Amber looked different. Tired, yeah. But quieter somehow. Softer. The kind of tired that comes from doing actual work on yourself. She wore jeans and a worn denim jacket. Her hair was loose, no designer shades, no staged performance. "Jack," she said. "Amber." Her eyes flicked down to our joined hands, then to Jenna. Then back to me. There was a pause, not awkward, just heavy, and then she said it. "I wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. For lying. For hurting you. For blaming you when the truth was, it was all about me. I was lost. And I used both of you to feel wanted again." I blinked. The words didn't sting. But they landed. Heavy. Real. Jenna stayed silent, but she didn't let go of my hand. Amber looked between us. "I don't expect forgiveness. I probably don't even deserve it. But I'm trying. I've been seeing someone, a therapist," she added with a weak smile. "Not a man. Just someone who actually listens. Who makes me look at myself." I nodded slowly. "That's good, Amber." She gave a small, sad smile. But it felt genuine. "You look happy. Both of you." Jenna met her eyes. "We are." Amber stepped back. "Take care of each other." "We will," I said. And then she turned and walked away. We stood there for a moment, letting the words settle. "You okay?" Jenna asked softly. I turned to her, brushing my thumb over her hand. "Yeah," I said. "I think I finally am." We spent the rest of the day wandering between stalls, sampling local honey, smelling handmade candles, laughing at nothing. But that moment stayed with me, not because I still felt anything for Amber. Whatever love I had for her died the night I walked in and saw her wrapped around my best friend. No, it stayed because her apology meant something. It was closure. A chapter ending. That night, tangled in soft cotton sheets and the warmth of Jenna's arms, I kissed her shoulder and whispered into her skin, "You changed everything for me." She turned, brushing her fingers against my cheek. "You let yourself change." I paused. I didn't think I could love someone again. Not like this. She smiled, sleepy and sweet. I did. I raised an eyebrow. "You knew?" "I hoped," she whispered. "But I knew the moment you stopped using me to stay angry." That was the thing about revenge. It's sharp. It's quick. But it doesn't heal. It doesn't build. What we had started in pain, but what we built from there, that was different. It was real. Late-night drives. Quiet mornings. Inside jokes that no one else understood. No big gestures. No grand declarations. Just a steady, daily promise. I see you. I choose you. As the months passed, the noise died down. Travis moved out of state. Amber started over in quiet, steady ways. And Jenna and I, we began something new. Something that finally felt like home.